The NFL draft has come and gone, and one of the things that still remain with the San Francisco 49ers is their star wide receiver duo of Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel, because as you know, so much chatter, rumors, and trade conversations about both of these wide receivers leading up to the NFL draft and honestly throughout the entire first round. So, as we've heard since the draft, the 49ers did not take any calls on day 2 of the NFL draft for a trade for either one of these players. So, as it seems right now, the San Francisco 49ers are in the clear in regards to bringing back their stud wide receiver duo, or so it seems. However, you did have Adam Schefter go on Pat McAfee show just a couple minutes ago to provide an update on his sense of what's happening and if any of these guys could still potentially be traded. And if you listen to what Adam Schefter had to say, it doesn't sound like he's fully convinced that the San Francisco 49ers are going to keep the two together, although it is definitely a possibility. But take a listen to what Adam Schefter had to say on the Pat McAfee show right here, and then we'll react to what he had to say on the other side.
San Francisco 49ers took a couple wide receivers early. What does that mean over there, Ty?
Yeah, Schefter, there was a lot of speculation going into the draft, whether it was, hey, are they going to re-sign Brandon Aiyuk? And then all these rumors came out that Deebo might be getting traded, and they obviously draft Pearsall. Can we assume that both of those guys are going to be staying put in San Francisco, or are they still kind of working through things? And is it possible that one of those guys is on a different team before the start of next year?
Here's where we're at with that, essentially. And by the way, I got one more story about that when we talk about just how strange the draft is before I answer the question about the Niners. I remember the year I was on the phone with the Rams in the second round, like, what are we thinking today? Like, there's tight end from, I think it was South Alabama that we really, really like, Gerald Everett. Oh, we like this guy. We'd like to get him. And I'm on the phone with the 49ers. I'm like, what are you thinking in the second round? Like, oh, there's this tight end from South Alabama that we really like, Gerald Everett. And I don't say anything to either one. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting to see who gets Gerald Everett today. I sit back, I watch, and the Rams get Gerald Everett, causing the 49ers to fall back in the draft. And in the 5th round that year, the 49ers took a tight end because they didn't get Gerald Everett by the name of George Kittle. So it worked out okay for them that particular year. But in regards to the wide receivers today, I think what happened is at various points during the offseason, they had inquiries about Brandon Aiyuk, and they decided they wanted to try to sign him to a long-term contract that they're still trying to get done. They got a couple of inquiries on Deebo. Nothing got close to getting done. And they said over the weekend, and I believe this is the plan, that the plan right now is to move forward with both those guys. Now, here's the deal. Aiyuk has not signed that contract. He's headed into the last year of his deal. Juwan Jennings is headed into the last year of his deal. And Deebo Samuel is headed into the last year of guaranteed money on his deal that has 2 years left. So clearly, there are wide receiver questions in San Francisco that they're going to have to address. So they got out in front of it this weekend by drafting the 2 wide receivers that they did, including Ricky Pearsall in round 1. And Ricky Pearsall, the funny thing is he wanted to go to San Francisco. That was the place he mentioned before the draft to a few people that he wanted to go to. He winds up there in a perfect spot for him, making some of the catches that he has. And now the Niners don't plan to move on from either of those guys. Now, could that change at some point? Sure, absolutely. And by the way, if there's a team that all of a sudden has a wide receiver injury and makes a big play, could you pry loose one of these guys? It's not what they would like to do. It's not what they're planning to do. It's not what they want to do. But clearly we know that there are some wide receiver questions out in San Francisco right now.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure it out, especially if somebody makes a good offer for one of those guys. I would
especially when you got to pay Purdy after this year.
Well, the Purdy is the reason why they're able to have all this right now, though. Because he's
correct.
Yeah, so right now they're able to have it all. But it is, that's not a light at the end of the tunnel.
No,
that's another train, brother.
Yeah.
And that is Brock Purdy's contract that is going to be gigantic.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's no hometown discount there because he was, you see, the last pick in the draft, so he didn't get shit for the first couple of years. So that's going to be a big one.
Super random George Kittle's story in there. I'm very happy that the 49ers did not get Gerald Everett and they got George Kittle instead. I truly believe that George Kittle was a better tight end prospect than Gerald Everett coming out. So I'm happy about that. But this video isn't about George Kittle or Gerald Everett. It's about Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. And when you listen to what Adam Schefter has to say, I think when you hear guys like this talk about the plan right now, as we sit, 10 toes down, the plan right now is to keep Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel together. Okay, that's fair. I think we all kind of agree with that neither one of them got traded. So, yeah, the plan would be to keep them together right now, because I don't think you're going to flat out cut either one of these guys. So, yeah, that makes sense. But as Adam Schefter kind of goes on and discusses this situation, he alludes to the fact that there are a lot of questions right now at the wide receiver position with BA's contract, Deebo's contract, with this year being the final year of fully guaranteed money, and Jauan Jennings apparently hasn't signed his tender yet, which I find a little bit surprising. We know that the 49ers have talked about potentially extending Jauan Jennings for about a year or two now, quietly. So I'm wondering what's going on with that whole situation. And as we know, the 49ers drafted 2 wide receivers, Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing, in this year's draft, one in the first round, one in the 4th round. So it does appear that the San Francisco 49ers are looking to the future for potential replacements for some of the guys that they have on the current wide receiver core. But this is how I kind of see it all playing out. It does feel like the 49ers will do the whole song and dance with Brandon Aiyuk all the way through training camp, or right up to training camp, maybe a couple days into training camp. Brandon Aiyuk gets a mega deal, gets paid, becomes the 49ers franchise wide receiver 1 for years to come, and we lock him in for the future. With Deebo Samuel, it does appear that his future is legitimately in doubt with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I think ideally Deebo Samuel plays this year, and then after this year, when you have to pay Brock Purdy and there are some other situations that go down, maybe you look into a potential trade or something like that. But I think the ideal scenario for this would be to keep both, right? As the more weapons, the better right now for quarterback Brock Purdy, especially while he's on this last year of his rookie deal. That is insanely cost effective. So try to keep the gang together, I would say. But, as Adam alluded to, he's like, well, if there's an injury, if something happens in a training camp across the league and someone suddenly needs a wide receiver, don't rule out the fact that someone could come calling for Deebo Samuel and make an offer, and he could still potentially be traded. So again, nothing definitive, no definitive language right now with this Adam Schefter piece. It's more discussing, well, the plan is right now, and the plans change all the time. Plans are fluid. So I would like to put this to bed. I would. I don't want to make videos on this topic anymore. I don't want to talk about this anymore, as I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it. You're like, Brad, shut the hell up. Like, come on, man. Focus on the draft. I've tried to, guys. I've tried to. Bear with me. But I'm trying to get this news to you guys and let you guys discern what you want to make of it. But what I make of it is that we're maybe not out the weeds yet. And there could be some juggling that happens maybe post June 1st. I'm not really sure. But something to keep an eye on. My hope is that BA gets paid, Deebo stays, Jauan signs, and then we just got a star-studded room of dogs in the wide receiver room, and we go out and try to get this championship. That's the hope for me. But what's the hope for you? What do you think the future holds for these two? What do you think of what Adam Schefter had to say? Is he just stirring the pot? I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.